Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Hope you guys are all doing well. It's Oscar here again, and today we're going to be doing the second episode of the chip mold series that I started, I believe it was last week on my channel. So, I believe last week I did small key, large key, pulse, and TRK large crown, small crown, and house mold, and I believe there was another one. Can't remember off the top of my head, but today I got 5 more that we're going to go through. So I got the rectangle mold by Langworthy, Christy and Jones hat and cane, which is the shiny hats. I'll show you guys the difference. We got the T mold, we have the horseshoe mold, and then we also have the Aerodyne mold. So let me quickly get these out of the airtights, and then we'll get straight into this. So before we get into this, I did notice that last week I didn't show the large key version of a chip in person, so I wanted to show that real quick. This is a Arrowdie in 25, and as you can see, there's the large keys right there. Same company, BC Wills Co, who makes the same small key chip, just large key. It's pretty much just a magnified version. So I'll put a scan. I think I had someone on Facebook recommend that I put a scan of the chip on the screen as well, kind of pointing out the difference. So I'll go ahead and do that on the right side of the screen. So just wanted to show that. And then we're going to get into what we're going to be talking about today. So first one we'll talk about today will be the Aerodyne mold. So I'll put up scan on the screen as well. Just going to show this real quick. This is a Aerodyne 25 horseshoe chip. Aerodyne chips were manufactured by the Tom Haynes and Co. from 1953 until around 1968. Basically, the thing that makes the name is you have an arrow, almost like an arrowhead, and then a die that goes around the mold of the chip, so that's why it's called Aerodyne. Aerodyne mold chip, you have arrows going around, and you have a die manufactured by Tom Haynes and Co. These are going to be more like 50s, 60s chips. As the company was only around from 53 to 68, they're going to be 50s or early to mid 60s chips. So that's how you can tell the Aerodyne. I'll keep putting up the scans on the screens as well, so just so it's easier to see. Okay, so then we're going to go ahead and talk about the horseshoe mold chip. So with this one, it's basically just a bunch of horseshoes going around the mold. Pretty simple. There's 16 horseshoes alternating, pointing in and out. They were manufactured from around 1952 until the early 2000s by the TK Specialty Co. in Reno. And according to, I believe this is Robert Eisenstadt's website, he said that they just make dice now. TK was sold to Burnett and Grasset, mainly for TK's dice business, so B&G owns the horseshoe mold now, but will probably never use it. So these are again going to be mid to early 50s chips, all the way up until 2000. I know Horseshoe Club and a bunch of small town casinos use the horseshoe mold chip. I think it's pretty sick. I know a couple of casinos in Eli used it. I think Bank Club used it, but there's a ton of these out there. And then really nice, like if they're in like a good condition chip like this one, I think definitely a set with these would be one of a kind and very unique. So if anyone has a set out there with just horseshoe mold chips, I would love to see a picture of that, because that's something I've never seen before. I know there's one guy working on one, but if anyone has a full-on set, I'd love to see that. So, alright, so then we're going to go ahead and talk about the T mold. So, same thing with the horseshoe stuff. The T mold is basically a bunch of T's going around the chip. So 26 T's alternating right side up and upside down. These chips were manufactured from the 1930s until 1951 by Taylor & Co. in Chicago, Illinois. It was owned by the Chicago Mafia, and that's basically it. So I know a bunch of Hot Springs chips use these chips. Illegal casinos tended to use the T-mold chips a lot. there's a few early Vegas chips like the Silver Slipper chip that has it, and I think the same thing. I know there's a bunch of casinos Panama chips that also have the T-mold, but same thing with the T-mold. I think the T-mold is very underrated. It's very unique, very specific to who the casino was, who the owner was, and why they would have decided to go with the T-mold. So another one of those very unique, but a mold that doesn't really get too much love in my opinion, which in my opinion it should get a little more than it does. So on to the next one, we're going to be talking about Christy and Jones. Christy and Jones. I hope I'll be able to show this on camera. The difference between Christy and Jones hat and canes and just normal Paulson hat and canes is going to be, let me see if I can get this to show. So, stay in focus. Okay. So if I can rotate this just ever so slightly, do you see how the hats shine when the light hits them? You can barely see them shining, but then if I show a Paulson hat and cane, come on. Okay, so there's the Paulson hat and cane. It doesn't really shine if I move it. That's the main difference, how you can tell Christy and Jones hat and cane chips from normal hat and cane chips. So let's go ahead and talk about these real quick. So Christy and Jones top hat and cane chips repeated 8 times. Christy and Jones was around from 1955 until 1965 in Las Vegas, Nevada. Very similar to just normal hat and cane chips, but the one differentiating thing is I guess the hat is 2 millimeters longer, or the hat and cane in general is 2 millimeters longer, and the Christy and Jones also have slightly taller hats, as well as the shininess in the middle of the hat. There was one point where, you know, Paulson bought out Christy and Jones when they went out of business, so there's a little differentiation of what year Christy and Jones and Paulson started manufacturing which chips, but if you follow Christy and Jones's 55 to 65, you can easily tell the difference, as well as the shininess in the hats. So that's going to be Christy and Jones hat and canes. And then we're going to hop over to Langworthy's rectangle mold. So here is, alright, come on, focus. Alright, there is the rectangle mold. So this one is going to be manufactured by Langworthy and Co from Detroit, Michigan. 19 rectangles on Mr. Roberts' website. Looks like dashes to me, but collectors have been calling it rectangles. They stand out in relief. These chips were manufactured from the 1940s until 1960. Not much is known about this mold, and it's not seen very often, but recently, in 2003, November, Terry Schaefer found a box of chips with this mold from Langworthy and Co. They moved to Vegas from Detroit, Michigan later on when the business was doing a little bit better. And yeah, so this one is going to be, again, I know Flamingo used a bunch of this mold. I think there's a bunch of California places that used it. It was probably used all over the US. But I think it's a very unique mold. It's very old school. And it's very timely. It's very simple, classy, unique, and straight to the point, which I like. So I know there's a bunch of Flamingo chips that have it, and like I said, California chips, but another one of those unique molds that doesn't really get too much love. Usually it's all about Paulsons, TRKs, and that's about it. But all these, like the Horseshoe mold, rectangle mold, let's see, T mold, Aerodyne, all these things are like super unique. And it'd be awesome to see if somebody would have like a set of these. But, you know, somebody probably does out there, they just haven't showed a picture, or it's somewhere deep in a box. But I hope you guys enjoyed this new one of these new 5 molds that we talked about in this video. Aerodyne, Horseshoe, Christy and Jones hat and cane, T mold, and the rectangle mold by Langworthy. So If you guys learned anything, put it down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like. If you have any feedback for me, please drop it down in the comments as well. I read everything, and if it's positive feedback, I'll try to make the next video a lot better. So, also, if you're new here, please consider subscribing if you're into casino chip history, casino collecting, crypto, investing in the stock market, college, real life vlogs, cars, and much, much more. I want to thank you guys again for watching the video, and it's been Oscar, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.